Hello there. Well, if you think we've got a problem with illegal immigration, it's nothing compared to what's happened in the European Union since 2015, with huge numbers crossing the Mediterranean and also coming into Europe from the east. And it's really interesting that in Germany, a country that has always tried to be very liberal and tolerant about these things, politics is changing very, very quickly. We saw over the course of the weekend the AfD winning a state election, nearly winning a second state election in the old East Germany. And now today, a proposal that comes from Germany's Migration Commissioner, Joachim Stamp, who is saying what we ought to do is to send people who come to Germany illegally to, wait for it, Rwanda, to go into the same blocks that have effectively been built and paid for with British taxpayers' money. So what's actually happening? And you can go to Scandinavia, you can go to Denmark, you can go to Germany, you can go down to the south of Europe, where you'll find that talk on illegal immigration, political talk, is getting very, very tough indeed. Much being said about removing benefits. And indeed, only this week, the deaths of those 12 people just off Cap Grisnez was blamed by a French politician on the British for being too generous. But in the light of this German proposal, ask yourself a question. Have we gone soft? What do you think? Farage@gbnews.com. Well, I'm joined down the line by Lars Patrick Berg, who was elected originally into the European Parliament in 2019 for the AfD. To think that this is going on, Lars, that there is a serious proposal to send people to Rwanda, is this the German government responding to the rise of the AfD?
Good evening, Mr. Farage. Certainly the government is responding with this desperate move to counter rising and surging public pressure. But it is a desperate move, and it is far too late for a move like that. This should have happened much earlier. And this proposal, of course, focuses on the migrants coming in, illegal migrants from Belarus and Russia into the territory of the European Union. It's approximately 10,000 annually. But what about all the hundreds of thousands that have joined or come into Germany and the European Union in the meantime? So there is no plan. This is a very desperate proposal.
Yeah, as you say, hundreds of thousands crossing the Mediterranean every single year, 200,000 to 300,000 every single year. But I wonder also, so we, of course, as you know, had a Conservative government who proposed sending people to Rwanda, and we had a day when there was an aeroplane on the tarmac with people on it, and a judge in Strasbourg from the European Court of Human Rights said, no, 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 you can't do that. You must think again. I mean, what I'm saying is that it's a political gesture, but would the German government even be allowed to do this?
Well, I think we are currently in a state of emergency that is more important than EU regulations or even partly the constitutional regulations. So in a state of emergency, the government's utmost priority is to protect its citizens. And we, the Germans, witnessed about 2 weeks ago a stabbing and murder of 3 innocent people in Solingen. A couple of months ago of a police officer in Mannheim by a jihadist. And this is happening now on a daily basis. So we are in a state of emergency, and something needs to happen immediately. Otherwise, the public opinion will be very, very tough, and it will be hard for the government to remain in office.
Interesting. Lars Patrick Berg, thank you for joining me. Well, that was really fascinating. I really think there's something happening, something very big is happening out there. I'm joined by Stella Santakidou, former advisor to several Labour politicians, and Rano Jawardena, amongst other things, a former Environment Secretary, quite relevant for the debate about water today. But let's just begin with this. Your native country, Greece, you know, there's been such anger at the numbers coming that the Greek forces have done pushback, have turned boats around. We have the Germans talking about sending people to Rwanda. German politician there saying there's a state of emergency. That means forget what the ECHR has to say. Have we just gone soft in this country with a new Labour government compared to everybody else?
No, I think that while the rest of the European Union right now is looking at the wrong direction, the UK is exactly at the right path. What I find very funny about the AfD is that suddenly the right-wingers in Europe are copying each other's wrong answer. And because they don't have a genuine answer to people's problems, they are suggesting, they're reheating a plan that has already been proven to be bad. Because as we know, the Rwanda policy is too expensive, it's not working. The only reason they are suggesting it is because these conversations have already been taking place with the Rwandan government. The UK has thrown off millions of pounds to the Rwandan government. So of course the Rwandan government wants that money.
You don't think, Stella, that illegal immigration is a problem, do you?
I think it is a problem.
You do?
I agree. I think it is a problem. I just think that the Rwanda plan was an ineffective, extremely expensive plan that would have costed us £150,000 per person. That's an insane amount of money.
Well, Ranul, you know, the claim that comes now from Labour is that Rwanda cost the British taxpayer 700 million. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it was certainly several hundred million. But if I'm a GB News watcher right now, and a taxpayer, and I'm thinking the Germans are going to use accommodation that we've basically paid for, I'd be pretty blimmin' angry.
Yeah, and I am too. I mean, the truth is, the left talk the talk on this and say, oh, it's a bad thing that there's illegal migration, but they don't do anything about it. And we've seen that from this government. They say that they're going to clamp down on it. They've got no plan on doing that. It's really bad politics for them, of course, having cancelled Rwanda. If they believe that it wasn't going to work and we've spent all the money already, why don't they do it and prove that it doesn't work? I happen to believe it will, and this is proof it will, because the Germans are taking our plan and using it themselves. It's a problem for all of Europe.
It's going to be fascinating to see whether the ECHR do intervene and whether Germany just chooses to ignore them, if it comes to pass.
Exactly, and this is what countries across the European Union and indeed across the European continent as a whole have done. The French are the best example of this. They are part of the ECHR. We are too. The difference is we follow every single diktat from this foreign court, whereas they don't. They ignore it.
That's because we're British.
Yes. Yes, we play by the rules.
And if we're British, we join a club, we play by the rules. The last Conservative government was hurt enormously by the English Channel. Hurt politically much more than it was by the legal numbers of people coming to Britain, despite the fact that the legal numbers had a bigger impact on lives. But it was just it's the visual impact of the Channel, of the small boats. It's the sense of unfairness that people are going to get put up in hotels or private accommodation. I don't think that Starmer and the Labour government have any credible plan at all, do you?
I have a genuine question for you. If the chances of dying on the Channel crossings is not enough to deter illegal immigrants who are asylum seekers, so we do not know how many of these people are illegal immigrants. A lot of them are
they're all coming illegally.
They are using the only method that's available to them. So under the current law, technically, under the current law, they are asylum seekers. So if the chances of them and their children dying on this journey is not enough to deter them, what makes you think that sending them to Rwanda would be enough? And I'm fine with something like the agreement we have with the Albanian government. My problem is specifically with this plan, with the Rwandan plan. So tell me, why would that be a deterrent?
Well, the idea was that it would be a deterrent, because why would you pay a trafficker €5,000 or more if your feet wouldn't touch the sides once you arrived in the UK? And funny thing is, we had a lot of illegal immigration during the last Labour government, and people like David Blunkett, other Labour Home Secretaries were ruthless. We deported tens of thousands of illegals in the time of the last Labour government.
But even now...
And it did stop for some time, the numbers coming. I mean, this is the point, Ranul, isn't it? You know, how is it that a Labour government could get rid of people who came illegally? In those days, not by boats, in the backs of lorries, literally. And this is where the ECHR has changed everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the ECHR has become more and more political. It's, not alone in the judicial sense of making law. And judges are now taking powers that should be reserved for lawmakers, elected lawmakers. I might not like the current government, but they have a mandate to do that.
No, I agree.
And so they've decided, and the people have decided, that the Rwanda plan should be scrapped. It's equally open to the people of this country to change that at the next election. But what they can't change are the judges in the European Court of Human Rights.
No, I'm afraid not. Now, politics in France, extraordinary. What a mess. What a mess President Macron's made of the whole blooming thing. he's been struggling. It's been the biggest impasse since 1945, struggling to get a prime minister that the Assemblée Nationale will accept. And guess who he's picked? Michel Barnier. Yes, the former European Commissioner, the man, of course, who absolutely ran rings around the British civil service idiots. And we finished up with the Brexit deal. There's nothing like, really, what many of us voted for. Stella, I think that the Labour government are going to be thrilled with this because they want closer relationships with the European Union. They'll see him as an ally.
They want better relationship with the European Union. They want France and the rest of the European Union to cooperate, as they have said they are going to do repeatedly, because how else are we going to solve the immigration crisis? As you say, it's a matter of all of these people coming here, so we need to have very close cooperation with them, whether we like it or not. Look, I do not like some of these European politicians either. You saw how they treated Greece. I do not think they are always logically, I do not think that they are always thinking in a rational way, long-term planning for the whole of Europe. But you do need to be diplomatic with them. You cannot go and tell them in their face that you don't like them.
We've never said that. Brexiteers have never said, that south of Calais, the whole thing's absolutely ghastly. We've never, ever said it, have we? I mean,
but we don't believe that either.
No, we love Europe.
No, that's right. We love Europe. We love Europe. We have concerns about the European Union.
We can't stand.
That's right.
Barnier, I mean, he's quite clever.
You've got to admire him, and you've got to love his style. At every difficulty that the European Union or the French government, in this case, face, they call for Barnier, and he is the indestructible politician. Good luck to him. But you're right that Labour are going to now seize this as an opportunity, and they've done what Barnier said before. Well, they'll do it again.
They'll see it as an opportunity, but Barnier being clever will make them jump over some pretty high hurdles to get what they want, is what I suspect. That, of course, is if Barnier survives. French politics is in such a mess at the moment, mostly because of the rise on Marine Le Pen's party, and they head towards a presidential election in a couple of years' time, of which, and I've said this before, I think she will probably win. Goodness knows what that's going to mean for European politics. Final thought on Barnier. I must tell you this, that whenever I was in the tea room, I'm using that euphemistically, you understand, but whenever I was in the tea room in Strasbourg, Barnier would always unfailingly cross the room, hello Nigel, I'd stand up, we'd shake hands, we'd exchange pleasantries. Really the most incredibly polite, well-mannered, educated man. Just wrong about everything, in my opinion. But he is a very, very smart operator.